Good morning, good evening, people. So, my name is Ranjan and I'll be taking today's session. So, let's proceed most likely and let's take up the session. And the very first session I would like to introduce with a couple of terms which are essential from your understanding point of view. So, first of all, let me start with the very first term called as landed cost. Now, before I talk about what a landed cost is, would like to understand from your end, what is your understanding on the term called as landed cost when I say as landed cost?
Costs incurred by the client at its premises. That's called a land, or at a port or whatever is it, port of entry. That's a landed cost.
Mhm. Anything else?
Total cost from source to destination location, whatever amount will be paid by.
Okay, and that total cost means what is that expectation on the total cost?
Like suppose transportation charges or like material charges, all the charges, total cost.
Okay, so that is most likely in the similar lines, I would say. So when I say total cost, the total cost is basically the entire cost that you are occurring or incurring on that particular product to get it delivered to the end user. Now, when I say end user, it basically refers and talks about the total cost. And when I say total cost, it does not only include the transportation cost, which oftenly is gets mistaken that total cost is the transportation cost only. It includes other set of costs as well, like baggage fees, scanning fees, handling charges, some of the port charges, some additional charges. Now, I would say all these costs usually gets combined together along with the transportation charges, which you say as actually the transportation charges to form as a landed cost that you are incurring on that product to get it delivered. Okay, so when you say and talk about the landed cost, it is basically an overall cost alongside with the transportation cost as well, which most likely is only considered from the perspective of transportation cost by most of the people out. Now, coming down to the next set of term, basically, what is your understanding on the term called a shipper and a consignee? Any thoughts?
Yeah, the
Shipper is a
person who
person
treat.
who, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just guessing. The shipper is a
Mm,
person who will send the product, and consignee is a person who will receive the product.
okay, a very simple one-liner, very true, very correct. Okay, anybody else have some thoughts? Maybe if we have some variation with this thing, or we have some different understanding of this term.
Yeah, it's a kind of freight forwarder, right? Who is going to take the responsibility to ship that product from the source to the target?
Okay.
Shipper would be the vendor and consignee is the actual customer who bought the.
Okay, so you have three variations of the shipper consignee, looks like on a similar lines with most of the people. Um, any other understanding that we might have apart from these? One said vendor, one said forwarder, one said who is sending. Okay,
Shipper is nothing but a kind of shipping plant.
okay, okay. Basically, fine.
And
Uh,
concern is nothing but kind of customer premises.
okay, okay, fine. So let's go with the definition then, or let's go with the understanding what these terms are. But at least from a broader perspective, if I talk about, I understand that consignee to most of the people is clear that consignee is basically someone or somebody who is at the receiving end. Fine. So you guys are correct probably from a consignee point of view, but I see a variety of definitions or understandings from the shipper's point of view, like what a shipper is. Okay. Now, shipper is actually somebody or someone's who is actually sending out the goods or shipping out the goods. Okay. Now that person or entity could be anything. Let me take a very simple example to understand that part. You must have ordered something from Amazon at some point of time in your life, right? Now, when you order something from Amazon, who is the shipper? Suppose you're ordering for your brother. Okay. So who is the shipper and who is the consignee in that case?
Amazon and the brother.
Okay. Anybody has some different understanding? Brother, I understand. Okay, that's fine for consignee.
The person who sells using the Amazon platform is the shipper.
The person who?
Sends the product using the Amazon platform is the shipper, or who sold the product from through Amazon is the
Okay,
shipper.
basically the Amazon seller is basically a shipper for you, right? Okay.
Shipper is more like a FedEx, like the means of,
Hmm.
like to send the shipping. So Amazon gives it to the shipper, and shipper
Carrier.
actually
In
delivers
short,
it
a
to the
carrier,
consignee.
right?
Oh, great. Lot many terms coming into picture. Shipper, forwarder, carrier. Okay,
Shipper
fine.
would be the shipper would be the, we can say, third party service, logistic service provider who will ship the product from Amazon premises to our premises. So, like we see delivery is one of the company doing that, like that.
Okay, let me take you to Amazon then. Are you guys able to see my screen, Amazon screen, or just it's just a PPT again only?
Only the SSL terms.
Okay, fine. Let me share my screen for now. Okay, let me go for anything. Now, whenever you buy anything from Amazon, okay, or any website or any place, basically, so you have a couple of details inside it, and most likely you must be able to see one more additional parameter over here. That is ships from. And there is one more entity called as sold by. Definitely, Amazon is a buyer seller platform in a very generic layman term. So when I say buyer seller platform, you are the one who is buying from this guy, right? Like Coco Blue Retail. Now, there are two possibilities with this retailing company. Either he will be the one who will be shipping the goods. In that case, I will be calling this Coco Blue Retail as the shipper because he's the one who is actually shipping the product. There could be another chance that maybe he's not doing that part. Maybe he is outsourced, or maybe he has made a pact with the Amazon, or maybe Amazon is some, give some concession or kind of that, okay, if you ship it from me, I'll give you some discount or something. Basically, Amazon is doing it on behalf of that. Okay. Ultimately, the one who is actually delivering this product, the one who is shipping this product, is known as a shipper. Now, I'll come back to the one who said, like, as a carrier, who said as from forwarder, what they are, but the one who is actually shipping the goods, the one who is actually sending the goods, is basically one which is known as a shipper. Another case, I would say, suppose I am buying this toy. Okay. Over here, if you see, this is not being shipped by Amazon. This is being shipped by your retailer, which is registered with your or retailer or manufacturer, whosoever it is, basically. So he's the one who is selling the goods. He's the one who is shipping the goods. Understanding that part?
And what is the term we use for the person who's ordering it? So since the shipper is different from the person who's ordering it.
Very true. So he is different from an order or a person who is ordering. That is, he's known as an ordering party. So you might have seen different terms. Most likely, once we'll get in the system in the next session onwards, you would get to see that most likely when you have different business partners in most of the cases. So you have the one you are the one you with like you are basically the ordering party. Okay, and
Okay,
these are the
okay.
ones which are the shippers. So ultimately, who is shipping the goods will be termed as a shipper. So not every time Amazon is going to be the shipper. Not every time the one who is selling the product on the Amazon platform is going to be the shipper. Okay, so it has to be precise with the word who is shipping that thing. Getting that?
Yes.
Now, let me come down to another definition which most of the people were about to come down to with something called as a carrier. Then who is a carrier in that case? Or who is a, what is a carrier?
Haulier, forwarding company, forwarding agent, whoever is it, whatever you would call it as.
Okay.
Actually, who is going to deliver the product to the end customer?
Okay. So, okay, fine. So this forwarding person is not going to deliver or not able to deliver the product. Is that so?
It could be, right? So sometimes your shipper and the carrier could be the same, right?
Okay. So there is the massive gap. Now let me talk
So,
about, hmm, yeah.
yeah, carrier would be the mode of transport, like from which we will carry the goods from one place to another.
Uh, okay. I would not say it as a mode of transport. I would say it as a means of transport to be more specific. If you're saying truck. Okay. But good science and just like you, I would not blame you guys. I would say most of the people have similar understanding. So when I say shipper or a carrier, definitely as a layman, we do have such kind of understanding. Now, when I say as a carrier, let me talk about that. Now, carriers are the ones who are actually carrying the goods. As just Grish mentioned correctly, that somebody who is moving the goods or carrying the goods, I would second him that the one who is actually carrying the goods is nothing but known as a carrier, as the name suggests, and the name goes with. Now, in that case, what is this forwarded kind of word which has come across? What is that? Now,
Third party logistics.
but what are they? What is a third party logistics? And if
Kind
I
of FedEx.
so carrier is not FedEx, they do
Um,
not do movement of the goods from point A to B.
yes, they do. I'm not sure. It sounds similar.
That's good. That's good. That's good. That's
These
where
these
we
are the
are.
companies, right? 3PLs are the companies who is responsible to moving the good
Mm,
from place A to the place B. So they are just and also taking all the documentation responsibility.
okay, but have you heard about Maersk? Maersk
Yeah,
as
that container company,
Shipping
right?
yeah,
company.
shipping company. These are one of the largest, biggest, I would
Yeah.
say, ocean shipping carrier company. They
Yes.
are also a
Yes.
company. So you cannot say that uh, carrier cannot be a company. Then in that case, if you're considering FedEx as a company, then
Third party in logistics could be a subcontractor.
mm, I would say carriers can also be subcontracted.
Third party can also be a certain, or like career companies or subcontracting to the third party. Yeah, like
Mm,
for instance, Musk has taken it from one location. Musk may not be, having that kind of logistic network in the given area or the region. Then they subcontract to third party logistic companies.
mm, okay. I think looks like a good way of reaching out to the answer, but yeah, but I would say it is a good way, but not the exact pinpointed. But let me take you guys over there. But you guys are very good and very proactive, and I must say that this is going to be a very good session or a batch going forward.
3PL,
L-
who owns warehouse as well, right? Who will ship the goods and warehouse as well. That we call as 3PL, right?
So carriers don't have, like Maersk won't be having their own warehouses. Good, good, good. So I won't deny that. Definitely, 3PLs will have that. But let's see what is a carrier and what a 3PL is. Okay, let's talk about, since we just spoke about, I just spoke about that a carrier is somebody who is simply carrying the goods. Now, carrier is the one, as I said, which is simply moving the goods. Okay, now it can be a normal truck or it could be a trucking company. It could be a ship or it could be a shipping company. Their existence is just to move the goods from point A to point B, job done. Whereas 3PLs that you must have seen are called as third party logistics companies. Very much we are aware about the definition part. They are also the ones which are called as logistics service providers, LSPs. They are also the ones which are called as freight forwarders. Who are they? They are the ones which are actually supporting your logistics services. What does that mean? If you want to send something as a very layman, generic person, I don't know about anything about transportation. I am a person who want to send something to Bangalore to my friend. I'm living in somewhere in maybe Gujarat or somewhere. What could be my basic layman step? What would I do?
Yeah, first thing we have to arrange the transportation, right? That is like your DHL, FedEx.
We'll go to drop the product to the courier company.
Very true. The very first thought comes into your mind is you go to a courier company and drop your products over there, right? But why would you do that? Because I just told you that ultimately they are not the ones who are carrying the goods. Carrier is the one who is carrying the goods. Can't you reach out to this truck guy directly?
No,
Why?
you might not have that contact, okay? And these three
True.
means this uh,
The
service providers, okay, or the courier companies, they have this
Hmm,
contact and they will take the responsibility till the product reach at the end.
true. In fact, that responsibility part, not only DHL, these trucking companies also do provide. Okay. But let me tell you why you would not reach out to the truck guy directly, but why every point of time you would reach out to this courier companies. The very first thing is, even if I try reaching out to the truck, I don't know where to reach out to them. Okay. So very first is reachability. You might find DHL, FedEx, UPS, all these people every round the corner of your home street somewhere, right? Next nearby office. It is because they are simply providing the logistics support services. If you have goods, give it to us. What do they do? By taking your goods, they pass it on to ultimately to the carriers ultimately. Okay. So ultimately, when you talk about these companies called as DHL, which is providing logistic support or service provider, they will be helping you in assisting and helping you in providing additional services. Very first thing that comes to your mind is why DHL, why courier company? Because it is nearby to you. You might not be able to find out the truck, tempo, or a ship basically by reaching out to that person. You might not see Maersk office everywhere in the country, but largest shipping company is Maersk only. Definitely they must be getting orders somewhere from somebody. Who is giving them orders? Basically, these companies only. So the very first point is, for a layman person, it is very difficult to reach out to these carriers directly. And even if I try doing so, suppose I somehow reach down to those trucks, those ships, those planes. Other thing that would hamper is the cost. Because ultimately, when I'll be talking to them, like I'll talk to Maersk as a shipping company, I'll talk to any plane, I'll talk to a truck guy. Ultimately, they'll say, what do you want to transport? Give it to me. I said, okay, it is one book that I want to transport. So ultimately, he will not be booking that entire truck just for me, or he would be charging that entire truck cost to me. And I won't be able to pay for that. Definitely. I just want to send one book. So ultimately, it would be even proving me costlier. Okay. And hence, if I go via these companies, they can give you a better estimate, like this would be the cost, and this is something is going to be the charge, and this is the expected delivery time, which would be suitable for me because I am not the only person who is reaching out to DHL. DHL is being approached by several thousand of people, which whose goods has to be going will be supposed to go to Bangalore, and that is where DHL kind of companies earn. They work on the volume, not on the cost. So the more and more volume that they give it to the carrier, they basically save there and they earn their money from that perspective. And that is the reason these companies have mushroomed a lot. You won't see the carrier companies' offices everywhere, but you would see DHL, FedEx offices everywhere because that is their modus operandi. Okay. So most likely, whenever you even will be thinking of sending something or shipping something, it will be definitely be via somebody called as DHL. Now, I won't resist that you cannot reach out to this guy directly. You can definitely reach out, no problem. If you have that much amount of goods, that much amount of products, maybe I'm suppose you are a manufacturer, you have um uh, you have your engine manufacturer and you can directly reach out to a carrier. Definitely you can reach out, you can bargain and you can have same bulk rate which DHL might be offering. Can be done. Now, ultimately, when you hand over your goods to your DHL guy, what happens? As I said, DHL will be collating because it's simply acting as a logistics service provider. So they are not the ones who are carrying the goods. So what they do is they ultimately reaches down to the relevant carrier who can move the goods. And that is where they act as an intermediary person between you and a carrier. Getting that part, how I am differing from a 3PL to a carrier?
Yes, yeah.
Now, that could be a different sign altogether that DHL is now entering into the carrier business also. That is a different segment altogether. I don't know whether you have seen or not. DHL have their own planes as well in certain context.
Yeah, correct. They
Now,
have their own. Yeah, correct.
now you cannot say that DHL is somebody who is a carrier. Now they have expanded their business into air side of business. That is a different case altogether. That okay, yes, I am entering into the carrier business. Or for example, if I talk about FedEx, so you do not say that FedEx is a carrier altogether because you just saw that plane. It is because you do have a particular entity which has money, maybe they would like to diversify their portfolio, and that's the reason they are entering into different cross and vertical streams basically. And hence they are getting into that. And it is not something like you cannot go upstream. In fact, the one example that I just gave you is of Maersk. Maersk is a carrier company, one of the biggest. They also have their own 3PL company as well. I don't know whether you have heard about the Damco or not. Uh, Not this Damco, this Damco. Okay. This symbol Damco is basically the one which is 3PL company of Maersk only. Okay. So it is not something that if I see something as DHL, I cannot get into the carrier business. If I am a carrier like Maersk, I cannot get into the 3PL business. I can definitely get into. It is all my vicinity of the business portfolio to how do you maintain. But my major bread and butter goes with the definition of understanding that what a 3PL does, what a carrier does. Getting that part, how it is being differentiated?
Yes.
Yes.
Saranya, to you also, right?
Yeah, kind of. I understand the second one, how the
Mhm.
DHL is um, both 3PL and the carrier, right? But this carrier companies are how it is different from this second one.
As I said, carriers are the one who are actually moving. So maybe if I talk about the plane, this plane is the one who is actually carrying the goods, right? So I can say this plane as a carrier, as simple, where it went. This is a carrier.
Okay.
Now it
And we
may be a
can,
FedEx, it may be an independent carrier. That is a different thing altogether.
okay. So
Okay.
when we are going directly through a carrier, it should be from manufacturer thing or in a huge quantity.
Yeah, if you have that capacity, even if you as a retailer as well, you can do that, no problem. But generally, individual retailer like person like you and me would not be having
Mm-hmm.
that much of capacity of goods to send, most likely. So that is the reason. And if
Correct.
even if it happens that yeah, I would not be taking that much big risk of one time thing. So if I want to send something, I don't know whether I'll be reaching out to the carrier, things will work out or not with that carrier, or would I have to go to multiple carriers to fix up the things? Better to go with the one.
Got it. Yeah.
Okay, so there are various challenges that comes.
Mm-hmm.
So that is how you differentiate basically. The carrier is the one who actually carries. It can be a truck or a trucking company, or it can be ship a shipping company. Basically, it could be a single person or it can be a company whom you are talking to. Or ultimately, you go and hand over your goods to your DHL guy. You come back, relax, you stay in your bed. Probably DHL takes care of the ownership and find out the best carrier. Now, this particular case basically is referred as 2PL. Probably once we'll go further, we'll get to know and understand what these 2PL, 3PLs, and different PLs are. 2PLs, most likely why 2PL? Because it is two-party logistic system. Okay, like first party is you who is sending out, definitely you are the shipping out, like you are the shipper. So you are the one who is actually sending out. And second party is your carrier. And hence it is also sometimes called as shipper scenario as well. Because it is you who is transporting. So you are the shipper, you are sending out. So you are considered. Whereas when I talk about of this case, this most likely is called as a 3PL case because as I told you, over here we are including a third entity, third business partner, third party, basically to take care of my transportation, and hence I'm calling it as third party logistics. So you have both the options. You reach out to the carrier, that is also fine. You reach out to 3PL, it is also fine. Depending upon the context, you choose, you go with them. Now, coming back to the same example, that as a very layman person, what do? You reach out to these courier companies. Okay. What do they do? So you submit your goods, most likely. They weigh your package, weight, volume, what kind of goods that you're transporting, insurance, blah blah things. If you're sending some costly item or precious item, they would ask you to tell them, and maybe accordingly they'll charge you. And that is how you come down with, right? To and from location, blah blah thing. And you come down with the receipt. True?
Yeah, got it.
Now, that receipt that you come down with is basically is a proof that you have handed over the goods to DHL, and DHL provides you the receipt, and that receipt contains one unique number which you are using it as a tracking purpose also, using it for a tracking purpose also. Now that receipt is basically called as HBL, or something called as house bill of lading. Now first of all, have you heard about this term, house bill of lading?
No, it's the first time.
Okay,
Yeah.
anybody else?
Same here.
Okay, somebody.
I had it as airway bill number. Is it same?
Okay, so I got one response. Airway bill number. Okay, anything else?
Aware of bill of lading, but not house bill of lading.
Great. New term, bill of lading. Again, okay. What is bill of lading?
Consists of the details of the contents of the good which we are, handing over, which has been handed over by to the for freight forwarder or the third party logistics or provider or LSP provider, whoever is it. The bill of lading is generated by them.
Okay. Okay. And what does that document contains? What information?
It contains the contents of the good were like packaging and all. The weight and everything.
And the
Very true.
HSN number also.
Very true. Very true. HSN number as well. So as you are pretty much correct, bill of lading, or generally which is also called as BOL, anything, is
If you don't
basically
mind, Sorry, if you don't mind, can you just write down fully of this term? I'm not able to
Okay.
understand exact pronunciations.
Okay. Bill of lading. Able to see right now?
Yeah, thank you. And also the AWB.
I'll come to that. I'll come to that. So since that come just on the discussion, I'll go one by one. Now, this bill of lading is basically something which happens to be utilized more commonly when you will be going further with a 2PL case. For example, if you are reaching out to the carrier directly, and with respect to that, a bill of lading number is generated. Now, bill of lading number is what? Bill of lading or BOL or BL, whatsoever you say, is nothing but a legal binded document which contains the complete detailing of the product that you're transporting, including complete detailing which you will be passing on to the carrier so that carrier can take care of your goods with due course of time on the way, which contains complete detailing. Like, for example, if you are a manufacturer, you are issuing a bill of lading to the carrier, and carrier takes that bill of lading from you containing the complete detailing of 1,000 products that you are transporting with some sort of details inside it. HSN number, taxes, and everything is duly paid. It is complete clear document. That is something which will be passed on to the carrier, and that carrier or truck guy or a ship guy would be simply be going further in case some uh, checking or some sort of illegally thing happens. Somebody stops you, you can showcase, okay, this is the document, this is the something which is approved, government cleared, something, whatever the authorities have cleared this, and I'm going ahead with this document. So this bill of lading is basically is used in a context where you talk about when you receive the order or you see when you talk to the manufacturer directly. And that is where this bill of lading term is used. Now, house bill of lading, or I would say airway bill, is something which is used particularly in your 3PL cases. 3PL means what? Again, coming back to the same example, you reach out to DHL
Exactly,
guy.
yes.
Very true. You reach out to DHL guy handed over you a slip, and that slip basically is a official legal document which is containing the details of what you have handed over to your DHL guy. That document is called as a house bill of lading document, and the number printed on that particular document, which you usually use it for tracking purpose, is called as house bill of lading number. That house bill of lading number is the one which you are going to use it from a tracking perspective. And in case if you are transporting your goods via air, that will be termed as house airway bill number, which in general terms is also called as airway bill number also. And that's the reason in most of the times when you reach out to Blue Dart or any courier company, they give you some AWB number. Or sometimes you receive a message that, you know, your goods are being delivered from this AWB number. Please check this, track your goods via this AWB number, something like that. Have you seen or received some messages from Blue Dart or any of the courier companies?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Hmm? Basically, they are trying to tell you that you have your tracking number, which is coming from here, definitely, since it is AWB number, and you can track it because you are receiving at that point. And you have that document, definitely. If you have that document, well and good. If not, maybe that, because ultimately, as an end user, I might not be keeping that document because that number is more essential to me. So as a human nature, I might not be looking to the document. Maybe the number is much more sufficient because I just want to track it. Other than air, every kind of document will be termed as your house bill of lading only. If I talk about rail, road, ocean, it is only from an air point of view this term is basically being referred. So it will be either HPL or HWB, which will be referred in case if you get down to any courier company. Getting that part?
Rohan, what happened is, for example, I'm a manufacturer. I want to send the product to the buyer, and in that case, DHL will send some truck to pick the product if it is based on the Incoterms, right? And in that case, DHL will provide the house bill HBL, and we are not going to provide the truck driver the bill of lading, or
Very
it is
true.
not required.
We are definitely out of that context in that case because ultimately DHL issues you that receipt, right? Okay, just take up
Okay.
your example. Okay, you are a big company. Suppose either you are a big company or you are an individual. Ultimately, whenever you reach out to DHL, DHL issues you a receipt. Unlike the case over here where you are issuing a receipt to a carrier because carrier has nothing to do. You simply will be moving the goods. So you'll have to make sure that what all things that you are handing over to the carrier. And hence you issue a bill of lading. But not in this case. Over here, you are handing over your goods to the DHL guy. Maybe DHL guy is going to issue as kind of proof or a receipt that yes, I am holding your goods. Okay. And hence the HBL will be issued by the DHL to you, not the other way around.
Okay.
Okay. Now you came back home. You sit back and relax. Now I have handed over it to DHL guy. Now a DHL guy takes care of it. And now when you talk about the DHL guy, because as I told you, DHL guy is not the one who actually transports. He is the one simply helping you in providing the logistics services or is simply acting as a freight forwarder. Now, what is a freight forwarder? Freight forwarder's job is simply to forward this particular freight. Freight means your goods basically to the relevant service provider. Ultimately, I am a service provider. So what I would do is I would find out the best carrier which I'll be having in my reach with the best rate. And if I have to go to suppose um, Bangalore, so I would be finding out the best carrier and probably I'll be handing over the goods to the relevant carrier in that case. Now, in that case, I'll not be handing over only your goods because you have handed over it to me. Ultimately, I am a service provider, so I'll be dealing in a bulk because I may not be expecting from you which goods from you which is going to Bangalore, but I might be expecting much more goods from much more people. So maybe what I'll be doing is I'll be finding out okay, 1 tons of goods I have consolidated, and those as per that, let me find out the best carrier, and with that carrier I'll be moving my goods. So ultimately, DHL is going to reach out to the best carrier and hand over the goods to the relevant carrier who will be delivering your goods. And just like DHL issues a receipt to you because you handed over the goods, in the similar case, carrier also issues a receipt to DHL. And that receipt is basically called as Master Bill of Lading number or Master Bill of Lading receipt. Getting that?
Yes.
And if it is via air, it is going to be master airway bill in that case. If that carrier is an air carrier, definitely it has to be master airway bill only. So the carrier issues MBL number or MAWB number to DHL. And hence, DHL will be having both the numbers. The one which he issues to you, the one which he receives from carrier. Now, maybe like suppose Maersk or any carrier to take it. So land, air, ocean, anybody. Ultimately, who is driving that? So they are the ones who actually issues and give it to your DHL guy. And hence, when you will be tracking your goods to DHL website generally, you might have seen that it becomes, I would say, you try searching your status for your goods probably entire day and you don't get to see the update altogether. Right? It is because he is not the one who is actually giving you the update. He is depending upon the update that he is receiving probably on this number. Maybe the carrier has not posted the updates or he may not have sent it to you, then hence it is not propagated to you. So once you log into the DHL website and you start tracking that particular thing, ultimately that tracking does not give you the desired outcome or result, and you say that okay, the status is not moving. It is because they might not have been receiving the updates from the carrier. So ultimately, it will be DHL who will be managing both the sides. Whereas over here, you only have one side to take care. Getting that part?
Yeah, understood.
Yeah.
Rohan, in case of 2PL, who
Hmm.
is going to send the bill of lading? It is the shipper or
No, it is going to be you, shipper. True.
okay. But other means in case of 3PL, everything we are going to receive from the third party logistics provider or the carrier, right?
You will not receive because you are interacting to DHL, so DHL will give it to you.
Yeah.
So now
Okay.
that is DHL's lookout whether he talked to one carrier or five carriers on your behalf. He manages 5 MBL or 10 MBLs.
Mm-hmm.
He will be giving
Okay.
you one reference, which he will be just like you go to India Post Office, right? You must have done speed post or must have done some
Mm-hmm.
courier. Now that courier
Mm-hmm.
guy or speed post guy give you one slip, like this is something which you have. You hand it over. Now ultimately India Post does not have their own planes,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or they does not have their own trucks. Ultimately, they will be definitely be outsourcing it to some different ultimately the carriers who can do that job for the India Post. So ultimately, your relationship with India Post, I can say not only this one, you can go with India Post also. Anybody whom a common person is interacting is always a 3PL because you will not be reaching out to the carrier ultimately
Yeah.
because
So
of so and so reasons.
yeah.
Hmm.
Although we are sending the full container load, in case of 3PL, always the HBL is provided by the third party logistic provider, right?
No, again, that depends on, I'll come to that full container thing that you're talking about. When even if you talk about that depends whom you're reaching out to. Are you reaching out to the carrier
Okay.
or you're reaching out to DHL?
Yeah,
You may
if it is a
be
D,
you may be you may be sending 5 tons of goods and container can contain 5 tons of goods, no problem. But if you are reaching out to DHL, DHL will be showing HPL to you.
okay, got it. Yeah.
Okay. So it all depends on whom you are reaching to, and accordingly the process goes. Just like for example, you have two ways to find homes, right? You must have shifted your home at some point of time,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there are two things. Either you get in touch with a broker who does it for you, you sit back and relax, or you take your own initiative and you find out the house. In that case, it is all up to you. Like you find the trucker, you load the goods, you um, 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 unload the goods, you arrange the labor, you track that particular carrier, basically that truck guy, because it is your responsibility. Unlike over here, if I talk about I hire an packer and mover, they come over to my place, they pack the good, they load the goods, they do everything. I am least bothered with whether he's taking my goods with one truck, two truck, five trucks. Getting that difference?
Yes, yeah.
So it truly depends. Even if you have bulk load of goods, complete container full of goods, if you're reaching out to the carrier, things will be different. If you reach out to a DHL guy, maybe it would be different. As simple as that.
Rohan Shabaso here. So for the first scenario, right?
Hmm.
For the directly from to the carrier bearer. So it will be the same like MBL, or it will be called as BL only.
No, it will be called as bill. That's what I mentioned over here. So it will be called as bill of lading or BL. That is what the representation is. That's the reason I mentioned over here. Sometimes it is also you'll be able to see with this notation B/L, or people will also be writing as BOL as well. Able to understand?
Yeah.
That is what I have mentioned probably in the slide. Maybe you can have a look in case if you have any queries, let me know before I move further. Okay. That means let me move further. The next thing I think somebody just quoted just a couple of minutes back, something called as Incoterm. Now, what is Incoterm that you might have heard about?
It is the responsibility how the goods is going to move. Means, for example, where the seller responsibility start and where the buyer responsibility start, or the freight forwarder responsibility going to start.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else have some more or different understanding or some different thoughts on this?
It is based on how the title of goods works. Like, for instance, the title of goods, when it's shipped from the shipper's scenario, like for X factory, the title of goods does not gets transferred to the directly to the client. So it is the responsibility of the customer to pick it up from his premises. So the title, based on the title of goods, normally that's what we understand in terms of the consignment or whatever you may call it as the
Yeah.
terms of transportation. That's Incoterms.
For example, if the Incoterm is X work, the buyer will come and pick the product from the plant. Okay.
Yes.
And if it is the DDP or DDU, so then the seller will pay everything, the duties, and deliver the product to the buyer.
Or in other terms, the responsibility of the
Transfer
goods.
of ownership.
Yeah.
Okay. So ultimately, I would say most likely our answers are most likely focused on the responsibility. Now, I would say probably yes, and I would say a partial update more I'll probably provide, which gives an overall a complete definition on Incoterms. Now, definitely we have seen and worked upon and we have used Incoterms, definitely, which is an abbreviated term. So abbreviated means you do not have Incoterm as an actual word. It is abbreviated as international commercial terms. Okay. This international commercial terms is actually given by international agency called as ICC. ICC means International Chamber of Commerce. Okay. International Chamber of Commerce has come up with lot many things as part of your standard trading and commerce uh, 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 entity. So it is an international body which takes care of lot many things coming into picture as part of trading activity and commercial activity. But most likely, Incoterms are also the coined word from them only, and that is where you are using Incoterms in the recent past couple of decades, probably in the same. Now, what they've done is, ideally, at earlier point of time, you didn't used to have Incoterm because the transportation was very simpler. But with due course of time, the transportation has become very complex, and that's the reason you have some set of Incoterms that you might have heard about, like XWorks, FOB, DDP, DAP, DAT, like that, CIF and all. They ultimately helps you in understanding who is going to pay for the list of services that you are using in your transportation system or in your transportation world. And hence the responsibility comes down to you. So if I am using FOB as Incoterm, that does not mean I am responsible. Definitely I am responsible for that. But ultimately it comes from a cost point of view. Who is going to pay for that relevant services that you are onboarding in your transportation services? And hence the responsibility comes. So now when I say I need to go from point A to B, at a business level, it will be pretty much be decided that what all list of services I'll be utilizing as part of going from point A to B. Suppose loading will happen, custom clearances will happen, some things will happen, insurances, import duties, taxes, unloading, lot many things will happen. Now, who is going to bear the cost basically? And that is something which is decided at a broader level where the relevant buyer and seller, ultimately the shipper and the relevant consignee, will be deciding that who is going to pay for that. And hence, it gets divided that who is going to pay what. So if I go with XWorks as an Incoterm, everything has to be paid by the buyer. And ultimately the responsibility of the buyer. So it is not only the responsibility part, ultimately who pays for that particular services also. If I go with DDP part, everything will be paid by a shipper or a seller. And hence, it will be called as DDP as an Incoterm. And this is the list which is not a standard static thing. This keeps on revising based upon the list of services that you keep on onboarding. And there are thousands of services. So you do not limit these lists to these only. You have thousands of services. Maybe suppose today you have some AI kind of thing which is coming up, which is integrated to your transportation world. That is again a kind of services which is giving you an indication. And if you are utilizing that in your business, definitely somebody has to pay for that. And based upon who pays, ultimately that comes down to that Incoterm. For example, in my business, I'm using 50 services. Now, definitely I'll be deciding who is going to pay for those 50 services. So I would say, okay, half of the services, 25 I'll pay, 25 you pay. So suppose it comes down to be somewhere around with FOB or CFR somewhere. I would come down with that. Suppose with demand of new service, I'll come down to additional 5 services. Again, I'll be revising, I'll be seeing that who is going to pay for that. And accordingly, I'll be mapping my defined definition with what international chart says. And accordingly, I'll pick up an Incoterm and I'll be using that Incoterm in my business. And that's the reason in most of the cases, even if in your objects also that you might have created, you simply would have used an Incoterm, or somebody would have guided you that use FOB. And hence you're using FOB in all of your orders. You do not come down with the understanding, okay, today I am thinking of using Xworks, or today I'm thinking of using DDP. You cannot do that, because that is a decision of a business which is passed on to you as a consultant at a consultant level, that which Incoterm has to be utilized. And hence you use that Incoterm, which again goes with the responsibility for sure, but with more responsibility, basically it depends more on the pay part, who is going to pay. And hence sometimes when even you might have observed during your Amazon shipment also, sometimes when you buy a product X from Amazon, it might be costing you 1,000 rupees without any transportation cost, but sometimes same product from another seller will be given to you at 1,000 plus 40 rupees of transportation charge. Have observed that?
Yes.
It is because they're expecting the buyer to pay that cost, whosoever is buying, or the consignee who is taking care of that part. So it is all dependent on Incoterms, onto which a buyer seller decides who is going to pay for what amount of services you are going to pay and what amount of services I'm going to pay. If he is a bulk supplier or a big guy, maybe he might not be asking you to pay. Maybe he can pay because he has lot many shipments to go with. But if somehow if you try to buy from a smaller seller, they would ask you to pay for that. And that is how this Incoterm usually works.
Ron, it's in short, it's a understanding between the customer and the organization, right?
Yes, I would not say understanding, but yeah, it is also a kind of
Part of the agreement, right? Contract
part
or
of,
something.
yeah, agreement to contract, that okay, this is up till what we are paying and this is up till it is your responsibility kind of
So
thing.
even the good example, like suppose we have the corporation at California
Mm-hmm.
and we have the customer from Europe, so it's from UK, and we have two customers. So in that case also sometimes we can, for one we can use the AXW and for one we can use DDP based
Very
on.
true. Very true. You can do that. And that usually happens because for everybody you deal with different type of entity. So if okay,
Yeah, okay, thank you.
okay, that's good.
Are the Incoterms applicable for your domestic transports as well, shipments as well?
Yeah,
Or it's
right
only for
now,
international?
no. Right now, if I say so, uh, it has moved and uh, for every kind of shipments. So uh, domestic, international, or any local shipments as well, because the kind of services have become more. So every item goes definitely on a loading. If I'd exclude customs part, fine, but unloading will happen. Somebody will be taking care of handling part. I'll have to pay for that. So ultimately, the number of services that you have come across with, the more. So that is the reason I would say today's world is more of a Incoterm thing, which everywhere, whether it is domestic or international, you will always be seeing that.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Ron, is this going to differ from different buyer to seller? Like now, if we see
Yes.
our cases, like all whose space is buyer, right? Some cases
Yes.
it may change to some are from seller, some are from buyer. This kind of is that
Yes. So it definitely changes from buyer to seller. So definitely, as if suppose if I'm a manufacturer, I'm a shipper. I want to send to you. Maybe I'll have different terms and conditions with you. But maybe for for some donation. Maybe I am going for a philanthropy and I am donating something to some handy peoples. Maybe I would be going with DTP Incoterm maybe, and everything I'll be here. So basically, it goes with that. So depending upon what entity that you are interacting with, which companies that you are interacting with, the relevant Incoterms are considered. Okay. The point of explaining this over here was we have heard about Incoterm most of the times. We have used them, but we don't know the actual implication and the utility of these because we simply use the same. Because you might have seen in your sales orders, you might have seen in your forwarding of Fed orders, you have seen Incoterm, but we never get to bother about that part. That's the reason. Because ultimately at a consultant level, we don't need it. That is a different case. But yeah, whenever you'll be interacting as into a consulting world, maybe to the customer's client at a business level, need to interact, ultimately it will come at your end. So better if you know that. Okay. Okay. Moving further, something called as full container load, and I would say somebody just spoke about something called as full container load, and I just not remember. What is a full container load that you have already heard about?
So there are different types of container. If the seller sends if the goods are completely packed and there is no other companies or the seller's good can be accommodated in that, that is a full container.
Okay, first of all, what a container is, maybe if you can tell to the larger audience what it is.
So there are different types of container available. There is a 20 feet container, 40 feet and 40 feet high queues containers as well, which I heard about. Okay. And these are the closed things or closed metal body where the product is in and they locked it and send it to one place to other. Yeah.
True. So when you talk about a container, very true. And where you are using these containers?
Means
In
of
case of
transport.
sea shipment and road shipment.
Okay. Most of the people have similar understanding, but it is basically only used for ocean shipments. Now, definitely land shipment everywhere you would be using it in, but it is not a primary usage. Okay. So again, just for the larger audience, when I talk about containers basically are these which you might have seen in the movies or in the shipping yards or dockyards if you might have visited. The big heavy iron containers, which are basically loaded onto something like this.
So you mean the containers, wherever the containers is eventually the ocean
Very true.
transport.
Very true.
Okay.
Containers are only used for the ocean transportation. Now that is a different case that you're transporting from one shore to another shore. You have a land and you are moving it via some mechanism. That is a different case. But primary and or you are opening a hotel or you're opening a room in that, creating something different. So that is a different thing altogether. Okay. But ideal usage of a container is actually to ship those on a shipping vessel, and you don't call this as a ship. Okay. This is called as a shipping vessel. The shipping vessel contains n number of containers onto it and onto which your container moves from one place to another place. So when you talk about the containers, they are the ones which are used by your shipping companies. Now comes what this FCL LCL is all about. Now, here comes what Suvendu said, like when you're going ahead with something called as a full container, okay? That means if I'm using a container and I am completely occupying the space of a container, that will be termed as your full container load. And in case if I'm partially occupying the space over there, it will be termed as your less than container load case. Okay. Getting that part?
Yeah, just a question. So these are called containers, and what is the ones we are seeing on the trucks on the road? What is that called?
I'll come to that. I'll come to that.
Okay.
This is pretty much clear, right? So that should be good.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
the one which you see are actually the ones which are called as trucks. And hence, when you talk about such cases, they are basically called as truckload cases. So when you actually see the truck moving on the road, it can be again of two types, which is particularly meant for road transportation, which is called as full truckload case or a less than truckload case. That means if you are occupying the 100% capacity of the truck, it is a full truckload case. If you are occupying partial capacity of the truck, it will be called as your less than truckload case. Getting that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Rohan, sometimes I
Huh?
saw that yeah, in my past experience, okay, the
Mm-hmm.
containers comes to the factory and they
Mm-hmm.
load it and seal it, and then they keep in the truck, okay, and the trucks took them to the shipyard. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. True.
So in that case, it is also the when the mode of transport in the road, it will be the full truckload.
Now, in that case, definitely you can say and operate it in the system as a full truckload. That is fine. Okay. Sometimes to save the time, generally you generally go in that way. That if you have a good connect with the relevant parties, you send the container altogether to the shipping sites or to basically the warehouses or to the manufacturing companies altogether, and they directly fill up the container details, container with the goods, and probably send it directly. Sometimes manufacturer itself says, okay, I don't want to leave my goods unhandy somewhere. Whatever the goods will be packed and packed in front of me in the factory, and accordingly it will be packed and locked, and then I don't want anything to happen, and directly it should go to the port locations. Now those are some of the things which can be dealt depending upon business to business, but I cannot say it is a standard practice which is being followed. Okay. That varies definitely. It is ultimately you are doing a business, so ultimately you'll have to drive with what business says. So if a manufacturer who is definitely manufacturing something, so if you have to get in touch with him, you have to get a contract, you do what he says most likely. But ideal practice is not to use containers from a road point of view, use it from an ocean context, because ultimately even if you use it for a road, either you have two options: you go with a truck, that is doable; go with a container, that is also doable, but ultimately containers will be loaded onto ships only. So that loading unloading can happen at the manufacturing site, or it can happen even at the port locations as well, whatsoever is convenient. Sometimes you might see in future also somewhere that I have my, suppose I'm talking about, suppose Tata Steel. Tata Steel is uh, having 5 tons of steel coming from Kolkata plant and 10 tons of steel coming from Jamshedpur plant and getting consolidated at the Kolkata port location. Now I cannot fill the complete iron at Jamshedpur plant because I know. So better I use a truck and move it to Kolkata from Kolkata plant to Kolkata port and get it consolidated over here. I'll place my person over there in front of him. It will be loaded onto the port and on the container, and then it will be proceeded further. So it purely depends how your business drives. So purely.
Okay.
Okay. Heard about anything called as dryage? This is something very unique word. You might not have heard, but just letting still if
No.
you guys know. Right? Okay. So generally what happens is dryage is a trucking service. Generally when you let me see if I have something over here. Okay. Uh, Generally you see such kind of truck. Now, ultimately, port is a very big location. Okay, so it is not a very 1 BHK, 2 BHK kind of a location. So it is a very big location. So you need something to transport because you need to segregate empty containers into one place, filled containers into one place, containers which are about to leave the port location into one place. Okay, and for that you need a movement of that container. Okay, that movement is basically taken care by a trucking system. Now, I don't know whether you might have been with some port authorities or not, but if in future, if you get some time to get in touch with how port authorities operate, definitely do work with them because this is the only term which will be used only in the port authority related context only. You might not be using it any other further places. So dryage is nothing but a trucking service which is actually helping you in moving the containers from one place to another place within the port location or sometimes nearby to port locations as well. If somebody asks you or suggests you, okay, get it delivered to some place outside the port location, so you do that as well. But ultimately, these are nothing but the trucking services which are helping you in arranging your entire port with some sort of container movement. And that is where these trucking services are being used. And most likely, if you are definitely deploying TM from a port perspective, you will be definitely be considering that part. Okay.
So in this case, Rohan, then will even though it's on a truck, we'll be calling it as a container, or would that be like a truckload?
No, ultimately over here, there's no truckload kind of thing coming into picture. Why truck? No, why you're not talking about truckload? Because truckload comes when you have to count it. Ultimately, where you are going and where you're not going. It is just an internal arrangement that you're doing. It can be
Okay.
half filled, empty, completely filled, depending upon that. So you do not go with I only have 5 or 10 trucks over there, and they are simply doing the same arranging, rearranging activity in the port location. Okay.
Okay. Yep.
But Rohan, then, okay,
Got it.
so one example, like
Thanks.
suppose shipment is coming from Singapore to Mumbai, right? Okay, that is coming from the sea. So we understand maybe there are 20, 50 containers. But your target destination is Pune. And obviously, then from Mumbai to Pune, definitely we have to move those container by truck, right? So what is that called then?
Now, ultimately moving those containers outside, the moment it moves outside port location, the port authorities don't have any view. Okay. Now, it depends whether they would offload the containers because ultimately these containers are also leased. Okay. So, depends whether they are offloading the goods and they are loaded onto the truck which is given by that Pune party, or they are loading into some local trucks and that is being sent to Pune, or you only have some amount of goods which are there. So Again, it might depend upon the case to case whether you are sending the entire container. If I am a very wealthy person, or I am kind of very wealthy, I can bring up entire container to me into Pune location ultimately. No problem. So everything comes with a price basically. So if you are moving out the containers, definitely uh, releasing the containers from port location, the moment it moves out to the port location, it is out of port authorities basically. It becomes a generic container movement which happens.
Okay.
Rohan, here we are talking about the truck, but I have seen that container also moves in the train as well, rail as well, right? In that case, any specific
Very true.
knowledge also?
Now that is what I said. So most likely you might be seeing, definitely on railways also you have seen such kind of containers movement. Very true, that happens because Indian Railways also provides the freight services. Okay, so you can see you have an container also moving over there. So within, maybe the road could be a costlier affair to them, and hence they are using the railway to take care of that. But just to move it from one part of the country to another part of country, not the basic elemental thing.
Mhm.
Okay, because ultimately they want to move from, suppose, Mumbai to Vishakhapatnam port, other side altogether. They can do that, but generally it is not meant for internal transportation. If you talk about,
Okay.
okay, anything that you have heard about ULD?
No.
Okay, just like you have a container which is meant for ocean transportation, truck which is meant for road transportation, rail car is meant for rail transportation. In the similar manner, you have something called as ULD. ULD is basically called as unit load device. Now, if you see these containers, these are very hefty and very big. Okay, I cannot load these containers to my aircrafts. Okay, as simple as that. Okay, because I'll have to fly. I don't have to work on land. So ultimately, there is something which is called as ULDs, which you might have also seen somewhere while flying across somewhere, or I would say this kind of a small box kind of object. Have you seen such kind of objects?
Yes, yeah.
Whenever a cargo is moved in an airplane, these are moved in these small boxes, which are called as unit load devices. These unit load devices are very light weight material designed objects. Very light, I would say. Somewhere like this, you can see that. Very lightweight material design, which can contain your items or products inside it, and that can be tagged up to the relevant airline. And these are designed based upon the specific aircraft size only. Like if I am going via Airbus, it would be having some different set of ULDs which are there. If I'm going via Bombardier plane, I'm going with some different cargo planes, it would be having some different set of items over there. And these are basically referred as unit load devices of different shapes and sizes, which contains your items inside it. So in case if you're working with an air kind of customer, or if you have some air kind of related detailing that you're working with, you'll not be working with the container or a truck kind of stuff. You would be more likely be working from a ULD perspective, and you would be studying from more from a ULD point of view. So that is how you should be knowing. Okay.
You say the light, so that light by weight or light by what is that? Like it cannot carry the more weight. It should be the
No,
lighter content.
lightweight material design.
Material. Okay.
Yeah, this box, I cannot make it of an iron like heavy, hefty stuff,
Okay. Okay.
right? So that is the perspective. So it is a very lightweight designed body of this ULD.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So let's talk about different kind of party logistic system that you have. Now, ideally, we just right now have spoken about something called as 2 and 3PL. But we don't have only 2 and 3PL coming into the picture. We have lot many PL systems coming into the picture. Let's talk about that. Now, this particular PL system talks about starting from 1 PL. Now, ultimately, what is a PL? It is a party logistic system. So let's say we take a very simple example of a farmer. Okay. So let's talk about a farmer who is the one who is actually sowing the seeds. He's the one who is harvesting the crops, and he's the one who is selling the crops as well in front of his house, just like a usual case that you see. Now, in this case, entire thing is starting from production up till delivery, everything has been taken care by the same entity, same farmer, and he's able to sell out those products as well. In such case, it is referred as one party logistics. Now, suppose Suvendu comes to that farmer and says, okay, farmer, your food, your products are very good. Why don't you sell it to the cities? Now, definitely the farmer would say that I don't have a capacity or I don't have capability to send it to city. If I would go to city to sell the goods, who would be doing the farming? So definitely I cannot send it to city. Maybe Suvendu can help him in understanding and letting him know that there is one bullock cart guy who can send your goods. Now, ultimately, that bullock cart guy is doing what activity? He is the one who is actually loading the farmer's goods onto the cart, and he is the one who is actually moving the cart to the city location. Ultimately, I am talking about a carrier. So, when you talk about another party being introduced into your logistics system, that will be termed as your 2PL system. That means you have a shipper, you have a carrier, ultimately driving that part to take care at the end destination location. And hence that is called as a 2PL system, and also it is also called as a shipper scenario, which we automatically spoke about as part of our discussion. Okay, so you have two entities over there. Also, we spoke about 3PL. Now, why these 3PL came? I told you. Because ultimately, taking the same example right now, suppose based upon Sovendu's advice, maybe we have a carrier who is transporting, but he started receiving much more demands from multiple cities. Now, ultimately, as a farmer guy, what I would do, I would reach out to that carrier and I would ask whether you can do it, deliver to all these multiple cities or not. He would say, yes, I can do that. But it would take me 20 days, like going to Delhi, then Mumbai, then Kolkata, then Bangalore, Chennai, and all. And with this duration, maybe there could be a possibility that the demand is not there till the time the product reaches over there, or the products which are sent are not in the proper shape maybe after 20 days. And that's the reason there is a caveat over here. Now, to remove this caveat, you come down with the 3PL suggestion, which may be a option a farmer can take up. Like either he would interact to multiple carriers, he talk to Delhi carrier and hand over goods to Delhi guy. He talks to a Mumbai person, he hands over the carrier goods to Mumbai person. He talks to 5 different types of people and he hands over and manages each and every 5 person, which basically we are still pointing towards shipper's case. Or what I do is I hand over all 5 packets to the DHL office altogether. One is going to Delhi, one is going to Mumbai, one is going to Bangalore, one is going to Kolkata. And accordingly, DHL manages multiple carriers. Maybe he has a network of carrier, he can deliver it that way. Hence, these 3PL existence came into picture. And that is the reason you might be seeing 3PLs coming into picture. And apart from these services, to stand themselves apart from the market, they come up with lot many more additional services like fumigation service, sanitization, warehousing, security, clearances, you name it, they give it basically. And that is the purpose of these 3PL coming into picture, to make out our lives easy. Our lives means ours. Okay, to act as an intermediary company to take care of every load. If you are not able to take care, or if a carrier is unable to fulfill, maybe they are the one who can provide that solution. And that's the reason a farmer better would be reaching out to a DHL guy instead of managing 10 carriers by himself. And hence, I'll say this could be something which is there. Now, up till here, it was pretty much fine. Now, world is pretty much aware about 2 and 3PL in most of the cases. Now, where comes the 4PL company? Now, the fourth partner that comes into the picture, fourth partner is what? Fourth partner is basically is a non-executing partner. Because up till here, everybody was an executing partner, because farmer is the one who is farming and providing the goods. DHL is basically helping you in mapping it to a respective carrier, and carrier is the one who is actually moving the goods. So they all are executing partners. Fourth party or fourth PL system is basically the one where this fourth party is a non-executing partner. It will not be supporting in an existing supply chain of network of yours, but can support in enhancing the efficiency of your supply chain network, can act as a catalyst to improve the efficiency of your network. Now, how does that happen? A very simple example. You must have heard about such companies called as BCG, McKinsey, Bain and Company. Have you heard about these companies?
No.
No? Anybody?
Yes, consulting firms, right?
Right. What do they do basically? What is their basic bread and butter?
Improve processes.
Very true. Very true. They are not the industries, they are not the manufacturers, they are not anybody who we would look upon until and unless we need to improve ourselves. Okay. And that is where these companies have mushroomed as well, as part of another entity that can provide you some consultancy advices. And these all companies that we spoke about are these all are the management consulting companies, which provides consultancy to the management of your company. Now, the moment your company becomes big, okay, it crops up with lot many discrepancies, inefficiencies generally. You talk about anything, like whether you talk about this or any company which becomes big. Now, when it comes up with lot many inefficiencies, your company start performing very low. And hence, you would need to weed off these things. And that's the reason you interact to these 4PL companies, fourth partners basically, which are not executing, but they actually help you in improving your efficiency of a company. And that is where these companies comes into picture, which helps you in enabling your company in a right fashion. For example, you onboarded them and they come up with some advices. Okay, you lay off 5,000 employees, invest in this segment, suppose in AI, divest this business, 5, 6 more major recommendations. As per industry practice, you should be over here in this quadrant, and probably you are lying over here to do reach from point A to B. Probably to this quadrant, you do XYZ things. If you do that, you'll be there. And it is up to you, because you are the one who is executing company. You need to identify and do that part. And that's the reason these will be keeping an eye on your performance or progress basically. So these fourth parties are nothing but a process improvement or process improvement companies which keeps an eye on a 3PL's execution. They do not participate. A very simple example is of Google and Alphabet. Heard about Alphabet?
No.
Parent company of Google.
Very true. Generally, there are two aspects. You have your own company. Within that company, you have such kind of consulting people, or you look those advices outside. Okay. Now, the example of Google Alphabet, why I'm giving it to you, wherever you see an executing company, it will be headed by an executive officer. Any company that you see, you have CEOs, right? What is the purpose? Chief Executing Officers. Executing officers. Basically, that is an execution company which actually does something, performs something. You might have also heard about some designations called as Chief Managing Directors or CMDs or MDs, something like that. They are the managing partners. And ultimately, your Google is the one which is an executing company, but under the leadership, under the guidance, under the eye of Alphabet, which is the parent company of Google. So ultimately, 4PL companies are the ones which gives you a strategic direction and vision onto which direction you have to head. And that is where the fourth partners are onboarded in most of the cases where they can have that. Maybe like you have an industry giant, or if you have some industry expertise, some you onboard some academicians, you onboard some researchers, you onboard some additional team to come down with the conclusion that how I am going to come up with this thing. And that is where this 4PLs are being used. So in most of the context, you might not have heard from a business point of view, but sorry, from a execution point of view, but from a business context, they are definitely important. They does not hamper on your regular day-to-day thing. Just like how Google operates, it will operate. Just like how DHL operates, it will operate. But it will start implementing the protocol which 4PL company has provided, and accordingly they'll improve, and then they'll come down with some better results basically. Okay. So most likely these are the ones which takes care of your improvisation segment. Coming down to 5PL. Now, when you talk about the 5PL companies, let's take an example of we already have 4 partners. Let's talk about Reliance coming into picture. Okay. Suppose Reliance comes into the picture and says, okay, farmer, you be the party. I don't want to take your land. But since you are growing 1 ton of fruits in that land, in that piece of land, I can grow 10 tons of fruits in that same piece of land based upon XYZ technology that I have. Okay. Now, if you give me your land, I'll pay you some amount. Since I do have my own Reliance stores also, maybe you would get a better reach in the market also. And hence, this cycle which was only pending up till here, because up till here everything was being done by the farmer only. Harvesting, selling, everything. But over here, this is also being leased out. And that is where another partner crops in into your logistic support. And that is the reason you would be able to see such kind of logistics as well. Now, in such cases, you would see the kind of product that you get to see over here of 1 rupee could be handed over to you probably over here with 10 rupees. Just because of all these number of parties which are getting included in your chain. And to talk about where TM comes into picture, your transportation management system that you would be using somewhere would be lying only at these two levels, like in 2 and 3PL. And that's the reason you would also only see these two levels only in your TM system, any TM system that you talk about. Because 1PL is very, very small system, I would say. I would say even you could manage, even if you are a big farmer, you still can manage somewhere over in your notebooks or Excel or somewhere. You don't need any specific ERP management system to take care of your transportation ultimately. Unlike when you have increase in your partners, like in 2 and 3PL, where you extensively use TM. Again, 4 and 5 are more from the perspective of business driven activity. Because ultimately transportation is being done by the carrier or somebody who manages a carrier. Other than all the acquisitions that happens that most prominently are happening from a management or business perspective. They do not have any influence from a transportation perspective. And hence you see all those set of parties which keeps on including as part of your businesses, they will not impact your actual transportation. Because actual transportation where you are imbibed over here is in your TM system, most likely will be confined into this level only. And that's the reason you might see multiple PLs. But ultimately, you'll be working only on 2 and 3PL when you talk about any TM system to talk about. And hence, that is considered. Getting that?
Right, point here. Getting.
Yes, correct.
Yes, but in
Okay.
4PL also we have to transport a goods from A to B, right?
Yes.
Then we use transport, right?
Hmm.
Then how it doesn't comes under any TM specific part.
Ultimately, as I said again, so most likely, fourth party is not something which is an executing partner. Okay. It is actually helping you in keeping an eye on a 3PL by grooming up your inefficiencies, basically. So ultimately, 3PL is the one which will be actually be doing the job, or 2PL will be doing the job. But ultimately, fourth partner which comes into the picture is not the actual person supporting in the transportation processes. It can help you in refining the processes, suggestions, feedbacks, but not actually executing them. You have to do that execution part.
So if I understand what you said, Rohan, that it is totally, and identifying the gaps in your business processes or in your operations. Is it correct?
Yes.
And bridging that gap through the process engineering or whatever is it.
Yes. Very
Value
true.
streaming, whatever we call it as.
Very true. That can be considered because this is something which I don't have visibility of because I am an executing partner. I simply go and execute my daily work. But if you tell me if you are an outsider, you find and identify that I am doing crores of business, but still I am not getting earning much profit. Definitely something is inefficient. How do I optimize my company? And that is where these companies are coming into picture with the expert industry advice, with the expert opinion that's the reason you see all those hearings that people are getting laid off. Why are getting laid off? Right? Now industry of your company has shifted to this direction, like heading towards AI market. They are investing heavily over the training the resources. Why do they do that? Definitely they would have forecasted and seen the things which either they would have been guided by somebody like McKinsey, or you might have your own team of within your company itself which can help you in doing that. Maybe I have hired probably some consultants, management consultants in my own company, which are helping me in doing refining and all together, streamlining my company altogether, which is again a part of my job only.
Yeah. If I understand this 5PL, it's a forward and backward integration.
You can say that.
Correct? This is what my understanding says.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just like in example over here, we spoke about DHL getting into the carrier business. Yeah. Forward and backward integration. Yeah.
So Rohan, just correct me if I'm wrong. in 4PL and 5PL, still the TM happens, but in the name of
Yes.
3PL or 2PL.
No. 3PL happens. Sorry, TM happens, but ultimately 4 and 5 parties are basically most prominently from a business oriented decision perspective. Because ultimately my transportation is happening over here in 2 and 3PL, right? I'm just including a fourth partner to improve my inefficiencies basically, or fifth partner to maybe scale my business. But ultimately, my transportation is still being carried out by same people.
Okay, so same by 3PL.
Yeah. So I don't
Okay.
have any changes in that. That is the reason. So those three parties are already same. So that's the reason when you'll be implementing TM also, if you are a TM consultant, you will be your visibility will not be more than what you see other than these two. You might not be using or knowing what is happening at a business level unless you are there at that level. Okay.
Okay.
Rohan, in case of we are sending the less container load, okay,
Hmm.
so the product goes and to the port and they keep the product in a warehouse because it cannot catch the vessel. And after that, when the next vessel arrives, it picks from the warehouse which is located in the port and container back to the container and then send it. Can that warehouse be a fourth party?
No. That I'll talk about what it is, most likely in the further sessions.
Okay.
Fourth party is basically an entity. I would say the warehouse cannot be the entity, basically. Okay. It may not be making a business impact. It is a regular stuff which is going to go with. I'm not making some drastic changes. Like if you see 1 to 2, there was a drastic change.
Yeah.
2 to 3 was a drastic change. Now, managing my own shipment is not a drastic change over here. I use one warehouse, I use one security agency to take care of that part. I cannot call it as another partner. Okay, it is my job itself. Now, drastic change happens when to manage my 3PL, I have somebody to give me a direction on that. That could be another drastic change. So does not necessarily if I say 3PL only three parties are there. In the real time you'll be having in ground you'll have several people, several number of parties or organizations working together just to make things happen correctly. But I still will be calling them as a 3PL only because that is a part of your arrangement altogether. So I don't call them warehouse management or security consultants or some different entity that I'm talking to as some different partners.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, hi Rohan. As per TM terminology, like can we consider 2PL is kind of shipper scenario and 3PL is kind of a LSP scenario?
I already quoted that.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Now, just taking you probably to this slide, maybe you guys can help me understand how many names that you might have heard about or known about.
Aware of
Apart from SAP or Oracle, definitely apart from that.
Blue Yolanda, I'm aware of, but it's not there.
Okay.
Dash cards, I'm aware of because I've done GTS. So dash cards, I'm aware of this thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
Manhattan. I heard about
Very true.
Manhattan.
Very true. So definitely that is the reason I would say these all are the companies, very big companies, very good ERP solutions that they have, and out of which they all provide TM solutions. It is not SAP which is a pioneer. Definitely SAP is a pioneer, but it is not only SAP which is providing you a TM solution. The point to highlight over here is you have all these companies which are providing your TM solutions. Blue Jay, Discartes, JDA, Cubex, Manhattan, Oracle, and SAP definitely are the ones, Transplace and all. And many more. And most of the companies are the European companies over here. And they have very good TM product. But the only thing is being the pioneer in SAP world, in ERP world, SAP is one of the pioneering company. And hence, when SAP introduced their own TM solution, being the market leader, TM has basically gained the prominence. So even if you might not have heard about any of these companies' TM product, but they do exist and they are very good product. If you might have in future you get some opportunity to work on either of these products, definitely go and work upon because they have very good TM products. Manhattan is prominently used for a warehousing systems, just like SAP is known for your SDMM,
EWM.
ECC things, yeah. And Oracle is highly used for their finance systems. So yeah, Manhattan is heavily and highly spoken about the warehousing system. They are very good competitive and lower pricing. So generally, whenever your pre-sales or sales teams comes into picture to pick up the which of the product will be good, I would say if you are there in the product selection team, you will be dealing at this level to identify which product looks good with what amount of feature and what cost they are onboarded to. You'll be getting into this comes as part of pre-sales opportunity in case if you're working with any opportunity in that case. So you'll get down and you'll be able to understand all these products more efficiently. But over here to understand and letting you know SAP's TM product, that is SAP TM, is basically one of the market leader with a share of more than 58% in the market in TM segment to be specific, followed by Oracle's OTMS solution, which is second leading, followed by I think Parvez or somebody said about Blue Yonder, which is not there listed in this place, followed by third Blue Yonder, then you have lot many coming into picture. So it is not also listed in the kind of a sequential manner. So don't consider that Blue Jay is on top and Transplace in the last. It is just I've listed it down so that you get an understanding of what all kind of products which are available.
Okay. I have a question here, Rohan, if you don't mind.
Hmm.
Yeah. What is the USP of SAP TMS product?
Now
How do we
that is
position that?
where that is where your solutioning and origination comes into picture. Now every other customer right now in the market have SAP system at some point of time, any of the kind of system. Now, when a TM system comes into your solutioning space or when it comes to the market, definitely, and if definitely just like your sales team will be pitching back with the solution, customer definitely would be intending to move with the existing system which they are used to with. Just like you are used to with ECC, you would definitely like to offer another system of SAP. Better than understanding how Oracle system operates, integrates, and works. Or Blue Yonder system, or maybe I have not even heard about suppose Cubics.
Yeah.
Why would I go for Cubics TM system if I have SAP TM available? Maybe costlier, but still I cannot take risk against my business. Maybe I still have good support. I have that exposure because SAP has already captured the entire ERP space in such a way that you cannot move out of SAP most likely, and that is one of the basic reason SAP's TM gets an first mover advantage over here because SAP was the very first company in the ERP space to get into this space and manage the things, and that's the reason this advantage goes to every other module that SAP comes up with.
Reason I'm asking you is that, we were in a, trying to pitch in our SAP TMS, right? But the only thing is that what we are not able to, to be very honest, my pre-sales team or something, they were not able to highlight or position it in terms of functionality. Are we, I mean, better than any other, this thing, TMS products in terms of functionality provided by
Yes.
SAP? Also, in that
Yes.
case, so that probably you may add some value so that I can forward it to my pre-sales team as well.
Yes, there are because lot many times, and the reason being SAP's TM solution is more of a generic solution that they've come up with.
Okay.
Because and that's the reason in most of the times you would see SAP solution is more you would always have to customize. You would not see any TM solution as a standalone solution that you bought it and you installed that and you probably implemented that. No problem. That is never going to happen. In any of the SAP TM system that you would see in future also, you would see that it is always minimum 30 to 40% it is going to get customization.
Yeah.
And that is where people refrain to buy such heavy product, and then you customize also. And that is where people get to see an outside option which is much more available. Customized options are available to you, and that is where things deviate based upon the whenever your infra team or your solutioning team reaches out, they come down with some sort of thing that, okay, this is something which is there, then you customize this as well. Okay, it is just like you're buying a Bugatti or a Ferrari, then you go for an customization also, because standard feature of Ferrari, you won't accept that. You would say, okay, add up these three as well. Because if you go for a Maruti, definitely Maruti gives you all these things already inbuilt. You
Yeah.
don't have
Yeah.
to say that. But if you go for a Ferrari, you'll have to go with that.
Yeah. Because only thing is
Same
that,
thing.
there are certain companies where they have standalone, TMS, they require standalone as well. So, targeting the various segment of the market.
Yes.
You
And
see,
that's the
so
reason. And that's the reason. Being public reach out, I cannot build up a specific and a peculiar solution. So I'll have to be generic and generalized in a way so that anybody, I would say, it is just a playground which is given to you. Now you build that into a cricket ground, you build that into a baseball ground, football ground, it is all up to you. That is what SAP TM is. You have to build what you have to do.
fine, understood. Thank you.
Okay. Now, coming down to what TM is, I would start with. So, as I said, most likely TM is a standalone application, most likely, which is given to you. Now, when I say standalone, that means you're actually working on an application which does not need any other application in support of. That means when you talk about standalone application, TM itself has capability to act on its own, unlike you don't need any sort of integration with some XYZ system to work on its own. I don't need ECC, I don't need XYZ system to work. I simply have TM, I can go with that. Now that is a different case altogether, that if you are working and integrating a TM system in an integrated environment, that can definitely help you in, channelizing your TM system's energy in a better way. That is a different thing. But TM can work on its own by managing everything, every data to be created in your TM system altogether can go with. And that is why I would say that probably TM is one of the thing which helps you in managing complete inbound and outbound systems, outbound processes, taking care of the domestic and international threats by providing the complete traceability and visibility of your orders, which you would be able to see, because in the earlier previous versions, most likely, I would say I'm talking about a decade back thing, you didn't have that visibility on the relevant objects. It was most of a likely to be utilized for a domestic case, inbound cases. But right now, what TM gives it to you is for from both the sides perspective, inbound, outbound, domestic, international visibility of your orders completely. And most likely, when you go with your TM solution at an overall level, you would be finding it out at both the kind of perspectives. That is, there are two broad deployment models which you generally go with. And your TM is available in both the deployment models. That is on-premise and on-cloud deployment models. On-premise means you are actually installing a relevant product limited to the respective premise and limited to the number of users most likely, which is basically one of the costliest deployment most likely, if I would say. Unlike which in the recent times you saw one more deployment methodology, which is called as cloud deployment methodology, where you deploy the solution over the cloud and over the cloud you deploy and make it more accessible to the wider audience and probably accessible to the largest piece of audience. So cloud deployments are, I would say, are much more cheaper in current days that you see over here. And most likely, if you talk about your even the cloud deployments, probably you have three major cloud providers which you go with. So you have three major cloud deployment providers which are already there. I think you must have heard about, like Microsoft Azure, GCPs, that is Google's cloud platform, that is GCP platform. And third one is your Amazon's AWS services. Now, apart from that, SAP also provides their own cloud services. That is a different case, but however, that cloud service is very costly. And definitely they come up with much more bundling of offers that, okay, you go with this thing. So probably SAP upgrades are free. So some things are taken care. You are a priority customers, blah, blah things. But ultimately everything drills down to the cost only. So ultimately it will be taken through the cloud deployment only. So it's most likely you might be seeing in the recent days that it is only uh, uh, either of these three players would have been taking out the market, and you might be seeing these TM-bit deploying in either of the cases. Now, coming down to how TM got evolved basically. Now, very first thing that I would like to ask is, um, have you heard about LE? You must have, but just wanted to make sure that how many.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. So basically, SAP started its logistics journey somewhere around with LE coming into the picture. When at that point
Sorry,
of
I
time,
don't know. I don't know what is LE.
don't worry, I'll let you know. So SAP started its logistics journey with another module called as logistics execution. That LE module is there. And it was a very basic module. I would say today it is also running in. So it started with, and it was a pioneering module at that point of time, when at that point of time there was no ERP module to take care of any transportation. And LE came into picture. LE was a very simple module and is a simple module. If I talk about LE, LE simply takes up your order and executes that order. At that point of time, businesses were not even complex. Things were simple. Orders were simple. Everything was most likely streamlined. You don't have various ways also. Unlike right now, you have at that point of time, road was only the consideration that was considered. So it was a very limited sphere. But with time and advancement, LE started showing the drawback. And it came up with lot many drawbacks onto which you would be able to see that it was ultimately not helping you in actual planning of your tool. Now, what does that mean? Suppose I have one order and I receive an order, Delhi to Mumbai, 10 a.m. I executed that. My LE is going with that shipment. I received another order, Delhi to Mumbai, at 3 p.m. I will again go for the execution. Ideally, with time and constraint, what I should have done is I should have clubbed those two orders and then I would have moved from Delhi to Mumbai, which would have saved my time, saved my resources, saved my cost also. And that is where LE was not compatible on, or I would say was efficient was. So what SAP came up with a solution was they integrated LE with APO. APO was another module of SAP altogether. And have you heard about APO? Advanced Planning and Optimization tool?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So this LE plus APO combination ran for a very longer period of time and everything was sorted. But the problem is this particular solution was more focused only for a road transportation. Unlike with due course of time and era, road was just one of the thing. The business was growing probably in rail, in ocean, and most likely in air also. And I need ERP systems to manage all these levels as well. I cannot have multiples for the multiple kind of transportation. I cannot have multiple systems. So I need a single ERP system to manage all the kind of shipments. And that is where they thought of scrapping all these and building the TM from scratch. And that is where you might be seeing your TM started its journey with features of LE plus APO plus additional features which you might be expecting in the present versions or in the future based upon the business opportunity. They came up with lot many versions, I would say, like they came up with 6 series, 7 series, 8 series. Then they came up with one of the breakthrough series of TM called as 9.0 series, which probably a decade back they came up with. And most likely they came up with 9.1, 9.2, 3, 4, 5. The recent standalone version is 9.6 version. So what happened with this 9.0? With 9.0, they were able to make out the complete solution that when I talk about SAP TM 9.0, it is a solution which can cater all the 4 transportation modes. Okay, that is rail, road, air, and ocean. Now, it was one of the solutions which catered all 4 solutions. Okay. Unlike, they also extended one more thing. When they launched 9.0, they came up with one more additional thing. Something called as, they also said, why only transportation companies use that? Because earlier it was a myth. Just like you saw over here, DHL is taking care of transportation, so DHL would have that. A very common understanding, right? Because you are managing the transportation, so it is better you have it, right? Which was a common myth. Unlike SAP also, to increase their own business, they came up with their announcement that anybody who can manage the transportation, they can install team at their own end. And ultimately that gave rise to the shipper scenario as well. And that's the reason anybody who is having TM at their own end can manage their shipment at their own. And if they can manage their own shipment, I don't need a DHL in that case. If you are that big, like for example, not many companies have TM at their own end. So if you can manage, you install TM. Ultimately, that also increase the market reach of TM as well, which was earlier limited only by such kind of companies which takes care of transportation. And hence TM expanded its footprints into the shipper scenario case as well. And they came up with this integration segment that, okay, you can integrate your ECC with your TM. And that is how your ECC TM thing came into picture. Because every manufacturing company which is having SAP, they always have ECC, definitely, which is the mother of all. And definitely to integrate ECC with TM was a challenging. So that is where they came up with this thing. And hence TM got prominence. Another thing that fueled SAP TM was SAP came up with an announcement that they are going to decommission LE by 2025. If you guys have heard about or known about, I don't know. They made this announcement some time back, mostly I would say pre-COVID times. They
Now it's
announced
extended
that.
to 2030.
Yes, very true. And that too because of this COVID thing. Otherwise, they would have been doing that thing. So what they said was probably what we are trying to do is we are trying to get into another environment, probably like S/4HANA thing. So we would like to scrap this LE and we would be stop supporting LE probably after 2025. Now, the moment this news came out probably in the market, there were only two options for the LE people or LE customers. Either they remain with SAP and they move to jump to the latest version of TM, whatsoever it is running right now, or they move out of SAP altogether. But as I said, SAP has already made its grip very strong, and definitely, ultimately, to retrain a customer is a or a business is a very challenging task. So that was another push which you saw where LE people started moving themselves into TM area. However, this timeline got extended due to when this COVID came into picture, like businesses were down, 2, 3 years, nothing happened. So they basically extended this timeline due to this only that, okay, let's move on to 2030. Okay. Another major push that came into picture was due to EWM into the market. You might have observed EWM was not there in before. If I talk about prior to 1 decade back, there was nothing called as EWM which was there. It was only LE, it was only WM. Heard about?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? So there was only WM which was ruling the market at that point of time. WM is warehouse management. So LE was compatible with WM. Well and good. But when TM came into the market, your WM was not compatible with TM. And hence, because actual transportation, bulk transportation, major transportation happens via warehouse, which somebody just pointed some time back. Now, when you have a warehousing system, which is very legacy kind of application like WM, where you're interacting with TM system, it was not compatible technically. And hence, what they did was they extended their existing warehousing system. And hence, probably you would have seen EWM also being on the rise since last decade only. It was not there before that. So they basically evolved EWM probably in that case. And hence, since then, whatsoever things are coming in, whenever SAP releases happens, you would see every TM thing is aligned with the EWM's request, and EWM's updates are aligned with the TM's thing. And that is how these two are in sync. That's the reason this duo or this pair has grown into a major, task like, okay, I should go for EWM or TM or something like that. And that is one of the major thing that has happened, and that has also fueled the TM's presence. So that's the reason the ones that you're hearing right now, TM people are talking about. 5 years down the line, there was nothing about TM people were talking about, and this has all just happened in the last decade only. And that's the reason what you see TM right now is what you see as TM as a growing module, because they have outreach to the market and they have captured most of the details probably in the market. Okay. So this is just a timeline thing. So that is where you have, it's part of your definition.
What is the latest version of TM? 9.6?
Yes, I'm coming to that. So up till that was fine, right?
Yeah.
Now, with due course of time, usually when TM came up right now, so TM definitely started with TM 9.0, 1, 2, 3, 4, TM 9.5, 9.6. So with due course of time, somewhere around close to 2014-15, SAP S/4HANA was also being coined by SAP. That they are getting into some new business altogether. They have coined something called as HANA thing, and something is happening with S/4HANA. Now, at earlier point of time, they have not included many modules into S/4HANA. It was only ECC, which was the primary module, which they have considered into S/4HANA world. And hence, your S/4HANA thing primarily The vision was to have one single umbrella which contains all modules of SAP inside it. So if a business wants to buy, they can buy out the entire suite and probably choose and pay the license as per what their need is. Because ultimately you'll have to integrate ECC with TM, ECC with 10 number of systems in the businesses. So definitely you buy out a license, you get 100 of solutions, 100 of modules inside it. Simply pay for the license and you get that integrated already in that same environment of S4HANA. That was the vision basically that they came up with. And that was the basic thing. But to include that, that was a challenge for them. So they started with S4HANA, started including lot many modules. And they started including TM also into S4HANA world, which they termed as embedded TM into S4HANA. So it got embedded probably in 16 or 9 version of probably in 2016. And since then, they have been running the parallel thing. They've also coming out with their independent versions. They have also coming out with an improved features and advancement in the embedded system also. So just like you have 9.1, 9.2, 9.3, 4, 5, and 9.6 running in the parallel systems in independent standalone, they were also coming out with something called as 1709, 1809, 1909, 2020, 2021, and all. And they have come out with those. So it is the parallel system which they have also coming up with S4 HANA versions as well, with standalone systems as well. Now, 9.6 is one of the latest standalone system, out of which a recent announcement came up with that they are not going to come up with any more additional standalone system. The next additional updates, whatever you would see from TM perspective, they will always be and they will always be available in your S4 HANA world only, which is again a major push that they're trying to push everybody to get into S4 HANA world. And that's the reason you would see TM 9.6, which is one of the recent one, you would not see somewhere in TM 9.7 in future. Again, it will all be coming into your S4 HANA side of world only. So whenever you'll be going with S4 HANA versions, you'll get to see those details already patched up in your S4 HANA thing. Okay. And this is just for probably for your information that the differences that you see over here, that what LE and TM, how it differs basically, and how it matters basically when you talk about in TM journey to talk about. So, however, over here in TM side, you will see lot many new terms over here which might not be, able to catch up right now. But at least you will be make out a gist or a difference what LE was offering and what TM is actually giving. Okay, so that is where you would be able to see. I would like to have a couple of minutes pause over here, maybe where you can navigate and you can see what LE and how TM is. Have a couple of minutes read over here and let me know in case if you have any issues. You can skip for now those terms which you see over here like fret unit, fret order stuff. But probably at the later point of time you'll be able to understand. But just for now, at least if you can let me know once you're done with the reading part, maybe.
Hi, Rohan. Maybe meanwhile, can I ask you one basic question?
Hmm.
Because yes, people are using whoever is using Elytra, they have to move to the TM. That is okay. SAP
Mm-hmm.
also trying to push that for that one. But if I ask like some of the customers, right, they are not
Hmm.
using the shipment module itself, meaning
Hmm.
even they are not using Elytra also. Like the basic logistic modules, MM and SD, they are using it. They handle everything through the deliveries only. Okay.
True.
But now,
True.
yeah. So now, if I want to promote, if I want to recommend them to use the TM, what would be the advantages they will get it? Like, say, for example, I want to propose the TM to my client basically, but I need to give some benefits, right? What would be the benefits? Why? Because using the TM, of course, you will have the more visibility, more tracking, but of course, it's the additional job for the users, right, Rohan? So I
Very
just
true.
want to understand like three or four strong reasons why the companies must use the TM.
Now that depends again on the business operations.
Mm,
Now, if your business operation demands that if your business is not even using LE as well, that means that does not have any major transportation need, probably where you can go and manage. And hence you might be outsourcing because transportation need definitely they would be having. So they might have been outsourcing and may might have been doing that thing and doing that job altogether. But in case if you have your transportation need and you better would like to utilize, definitely you'll have to drill down to the final set of business processes which you would like to go with, and then come out with a conclusion that what all processes that you would be needing. And based upon that, you drill down with the features and functionalities what LE is offering, most likely, which definitely will not go for that, but most likely you go for TM. Now, when you go
mm,
for TM, what all features are expected? Whether you are looking for an optimization, whether you are looking for a charge calculation, whether you're looking for a very simple order management thing, because that is how what TM takes care. Most likely, the next slide will talk about the basic simple process flow, how a TM happens. So,
mm.
ultimately, once you decide upon what kind of business need that you are having, accordingly, you can go further and pinpoint and find out the relevant module. I must say.
Basically, the reason why I'm asking this question, if I take like from SAP consulting point of view, right? Most of the times, what we do, we will implement the SAP solutions for the manufacturing companies. So normally in their shipment process, right, they always have they will always engage the 3PL vendor who will provide the services like DHL, right? They are the one who will uh, do all the work related to your freight
Hmm.
management. Okay.
Hmm.
So now, of course, DHL will have their own transportation management system from DHL side. Whether they are using SAP, whether they are using Oracle, that is a different story. But now, from my manufacturing point of view, of course, I
Mhm.
already have alignment with the DHL. They are the one who will take care about my shipments basically. But
Mhm.
in that case, is it make sense to use the TM from manufacturing company side?
No,
No, isn't it? Okay.
no. So in that case, if you are managing, then only will be using. So as simple as that. If you are
Oh, so
already
so
outsourcing, for example,
uh,
you are reaching out to some DHL guy, then definitely you have nothing to bother about transportation altogether. And that's the reason TM is outreached in the market. If you have that capacity and if you want, probably you can have your TM at your own end as well.
so meaning wherever you are directly uh, uh, getting you're directly dealing with your carriers, in
Hmm.
that case, it is recommended to implement the SAP.
Yeah, if you are self enough sufficient, most likely. So if you can afford, you can have the resources, you can have manage your entire supply chain by your own self. Better to have it.
Hmm. But if it is a 3PL kind of thing, better manufacturing side, we no need to implement the TM. The
Yeah, yeah, yeah. From your end, you don't have to because you're already outsourcing it. So as simple as you don't need to worry about that part. So they will take care. Whosoever is installing, whosoever is managing TM as a very thumb rule, they would be having TM. As simple as that.
Okay, okay, noted. Thank you.
Okay. Now, talking about the very basic core process, I would say. So when you talk about the very basic core process, your basic core process goes with 6 processes, out of which 4 processes we are talking about right now. Maybe the next 2 processes we might see in the next session. But most likely, the first 4 processes are basically called as recursive processes. What are these? Order management, planning, execution, and the settlement part. And most likely, if you have your ERP or any finance system integrated to your TM system, that goes further. Now, ultimately, when you talk about TM, what TM gives it to you, or what happens inside a TM as a black box thing. Inside the TM, you actually gets your things operated in these 4 processes. These are the same processes which takes your order. Just like, for example, use the same example of DHL. You go to DHL, right? And you hand over the your product and you come back home. Now, what actually this DHL guy is doing? DHL guy is actually taking care of your order, which comes as part of your order management. Now, there are 2 ways of getting an order generated in the TM system. Either just like you go to DHL store and hand over the goods, one way, which is the manual way of creating an order. Somebody at the DHL guy, they will be generating an order probably in their system and order gets generated, blah, blah thing. Or if I am an industry, I cannot go, I have 1,000 orders probably I'm creating in a day. I don't have that vicinity to go to a DHL guy and ask him, okay, create 1,000 orders. You also create, I will be giving you a detail of. That will be again a waste of time. So definitely you would be having some EDI integration or some sort of ERP integration that you would be having with your TM system, with your some XYZ source system from where it is coming in. Maybe if suppose this is a manufacturer, this is actually sending out some order to DHL's TM system. Now, don't get it mixed up with your ECC, which is getting integrated to TM, and your shipper is doing something. Okay, most likely it gets confused with most of the people because ultimately both TM and ECC are sitting in the same environment over here at a shipper side. So that's the reason you don't have anything to be done over here. So it is your ECC TM interacting over here. This guy, like that I still, for example, will be having, suppose web UI application he's having. From there, he's receiving an order and ultimately that is passed on to DHL. And ultimately an order gets created in the DHL's TM system called as order. Okay. Anyhow, an order gets created in the TM system, which contains your details inside it. Now, when you come back home, DHL is actually taking care of that order. Now, that order is actually being processed by the internal team of DHL. That means I have received an order to go from Delhi to Mumbai with 5 tons of steel. Now, the planning team of DHL will identify how this planning will be done. This planning team will identify that, okay, Delhi to Mumbai, I can go via rail as well. I can go via road as well. I can go via air as well. Now, what is the business need? They need urgently. Maybe I can travel via air. If I am okay with the regular time, I can go via road also. I can go via rail also, whatever looks cheaper to me. So ultimately, planning team's job is to chalk out the entire layout of the plan, how the movement happens. And this movement ultimately is nothing but identifying what is the best mode, what number of containers if it is needed, or entire chalk out of the plan will be considered. Delhi to Mumbai, I would be going with which way? This Delhi to Mumbai movement ultimately will be taken care by your execution team in that case, which will work on the planned order. which they see that, okay, this is an order which DHL team has finalized that I need to go from Delhi to Mumbai via truck. Now with that truck, I need to actually identify at the ground level, how would I go with that truck? Do I have my existing carrier, or do I choose a different carrier? Or do I have any separate mechanism? Tendering, carrier selection, or collaboration? Do you have any such sort of? Do you have such kind of mechanism? Ultimately, to pick up the best carrier, it is my responsibility, my execution team's responsibility to take care of the one and identify the best carrier. And this carrier definitely would be selected based upon whatever the attribute that a DHL guy would be. Okay. Now, with that, you would be going ahead with either the price or the reliability or the business case of a carrier, and ultimately I'll be finalizing the carrier which would be driving from Delhi to Mumbai with 5 tons of steel. And this is the same place where your TM also will be interacting to multiple systems. Like you might be interacting to GTS, GIS, event management, various other systems which comes into picture. And that is where it will be considered. This execution process is also called a subcontracting process, because ultimately, as we are aware, the DHL guy is not the one who is carrying the goods. He is the one who is subcontracting into some carriers. And that is where our model is. So our 3PL model goes with the same way. So ultimately, that is the reason it is also called a subcontracting process, where I'm subcontracting it to some third party carriers to take care of. Maybe I might have my own DHL plane, but maybe suppose that plane is busy. I cannot have that plane. I cannot have that DHL truck. But yes, I have somebody, definitely I can take care. I have found out, I can go with that. And that is where your execution actually happens at the ground level, from going from Delhi till it gets delivered to the Mumbai place. And that's how you complete your execution process, going further with the settlement phase. Now, this settlement phase is the one which actually helps you when you pay to that relevant customer. When you actually pay, okay, there are two kind of payment that comes into picture now. One kind of payment is when DHL pays to the carrier, which is called as carrier payment. Another kind of payment is what the carrier receives from you. So both the kind of payments basically are taken care, and these are the same settlements which are raised in your TM system. And if you have your TM integrated with your finance system, these are moved to the finance system. And once it is moved to the finance system, it gets actually settled in the finance side. Most likely when I talk about from a finance processes, it will be account receivable. Most likely this is an account receivable thing. This is an account payable thing that they would be getting in. And they would be proceeding further accordingly. Probably your finance team will take care of that part. You have nothing to worry from that point of view. So that is how the things happens most likely whenever you work in this fashion. And it is not something which is only aligned with this way from a 3PL context. Probably once we'll connect in the next session, we'll talk about the same processes, how it is aligned with your 2PL case also, that you would see. So most likely once you'll see in the next session, you would get to see how there is aligned from a 2PL perspective also. But again, the same processes will be aligned over there as well. Now, coming down with one more attribute, which you see over here, something called as booking part. Now, up till over here, we spoke about that I am going from Delhi to Mumbai. But for example, I am going from Mumbai to Melbourne. Now, when I am going from Mumbai to Melbourne, what I have to do is ultimately, when an order comes to me as a planning team, as a planning guy, I would see, okay, it is an order from Mumbai to Melbourne. Now, Mumbai to Melbourne, there are only two ways in front of me. Either I can go via air or ocean. I don't have any other way to cross the borders. Okay, because there is no land connectivity. So the rest other two options, rail and road, are not there. And hence, during planning only, it will be identified and decided. I would have to go with the booking process. Now, what is a booking process? And why we are not calling that process probably in an rail or road kind of thing? It is because in rail or road, you have plenty of carriers as an options which are available to you. You have local truckers, you have regional truckers, you have national truckers, international trucking companies. You have within that country, I'm just talking about a one country, maybe you have several other countries will be having lot many trucks available. So availability of the resources are more. So you don't have to pre-book anything from in advance. Unlike in an ocean or in air case, where I have limited set of players which are operating. So if suppose I leave a ship by today, I don't have any ship which is upcoming up till tomorrow. And hence I'll have to go with the booking process altogether where I'll be booking a relevant person over here. And suppose I go with Maersk, suppose they are giving me the best rate and everything is looking good. I'll be booking with Maersk, and that is the same booking which your execution team will carry forward while taking care of your actual execution of loading, unloading, and the entire process that happens. Okay. So that is how it goes from that perspective. And these three blue lines are aligned with the rest of the two processes, which I would say we'll be discussing in the next session. That would be more aligned. And that is where we are going to go with. Okay. So that is how your overall process, how your TM works and how your TM goes with it, it goes along. And most likely once we'll go further in the next session, we would be proceeding with the rest of the two processes, and rest of the terms most likely we'll talk about how what all things are there as part of broader vicinity of your detail.
Thank you, Rohan. It
Yeah.
was it was easy to understand.
Very good explanation, mate. Really good.
Yeah.
Ron.
Thanks. You guys are liking the session. I'm
No,
delighted
it
to
was
hear
really
that.
good. Really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Ron. Yeah.
Thank you all.
Nice
So
one.
do we
See you
get
in
the
next session.
recordings?
I think that Sastrageek and people over there would be helping you with that. Most likely
Okay.
get in touch with Bhupendra or whomsoever you're talking to. Most likely any coordinator, if you have it, get in touch with them. I think they'll help you out with that.
Sure, mate. Thank
Okay.
you. Thanks,
Okay.
mate.
Good explanation.
Rohan,
Thank you.
sorry,
Yes.
Rohan, Naveen. Hello, Rohan. Naveen here.
Yeah.
Actually,
Hi.
I want to discuss on one of the business process. Is it possible to discuss offline? I just need 5 minutes of your time.
We can talk about most likely. I think this is going to be a recorded session. Most likely,
Yeah.
I think once we'll be there off recording, maybe we can talk about. Don't worry.
Okay.
Rohan,
Okay.
just in
Yeah,
case,
Parvez.
if you can shed some light, maybe not now, an integration part, because it's very important part of
It is
it.
going to get covered probably in the next session. Don't worry.
Yeah. Right. All right, mate. Thank you. Bye.
Okay.
Rohan, quick question. Will we be talking about more embedded TM or standalone TM this training?
No. We'll be talking about the embedded TM that we will
Okay.
be going through. Don't worry. So
Okay.
it will be all the latest one only that you'll be getting. It is, I
Great.
think, 2023 that you will be getting. I don't know about the exact version, but yeah, I think it should be
Okay.
2023 only.
Okay. Great. Yeah. So embedded TM and also integration with EWM, right?
I don't know about the EWM part, frankly
Okay,
saying.
little bit.
So yeah, at
Okay.
least yeah, TM thing definitely I'll be taking care of that part. But touch hold points with
Rohan,
respect to EWM, I'll tell about. But
Yeah, the
uh,
integration,
yeah,
just the integration part from like
yes,
TM to WM that we'll be discussing, right?
yeah, that I'll
Okay.
take care.
Okay, perfect. Yeah,
yeah,
that's fine. Thank you.
Rohan, we are talking about the embedded TM, right? But there is also possibility of the decentral HANA TM as well, right?
Uh, Decentral HANA is not something called as decentralized, it is called as standalone, because the decentralized thing is basically referred most from the EWM point of view. So this term that you see. Okay, but however, the notations are different, same, but the concept is same. So it is a standalone TM system. Yeah, it is different.
Okay.
And it is, sorry, it is exactly same. There is no difference in that, I would say. If you talk about the latest TM version, yeah, previous
Yeah,
versions might be having difference.
yeah, but we need to transmit some of the data, like some master data, or right, to the other system.
Mm, to other system means what?
When the standalone TM.
No, a standalone TM itself has the capability to create everything, so you don't need it. That is the reason. You can create your business partners. You can create your own products. You can create your own, documents. Whatsoever you might expect that a location has to be there. You don't need to depend upon ECC. You can create it in TM, no problem. And that is how it is designed.
Okay.
So even
Ron,
if
you
you
will
work with,
explain.
standalone, these things will be there. If you're working in embedded, it is a good thing to get leverage from existing things. So that is the only benefit that you have it.
Okay.
Roshan, this is Sumant here. Like, are you covering kind of a HANA migration carpet, kind of a
It's
master data scenario for transportation lanes kind of things will be there, right? Like how
uh,
we'll
HANA
upload
migration is a different topic altogether. So okay.
kind of master data
So
uploading kind of thing.
uh, again, it is altogether a different segment altogether. TM does not cater that part. Okay,
How we will upload kind of bulk of master data then?
that is what I'm
In
saying. So there is no need of uploading anything because you're working in an S4 environment. So when you're already there in the S4 environment, you don't need any uh, thing to upload because data is already there. So you simply need to fetch it from which system, which area you want it, and that is how you use it. So bulk upload kind of thing, which is the standard process of every other standalone system, basically is not the same process you use out over here.
suppose like if we want to upload new carrier details and the kind of transport lanes, right? So in that case also like how it would be like no need like we should not go and manually create for each
No,
transport.
ultimately, these are the ones which are the part of TM only. So there is nothing outside TM. So you would be creating those in TM only. I'm specifically talking about the objects which you are migrating from outside world, most likely. So like suppose business partners or organizations. So that is not needed to migrate. Okay. But maybe once we'll go further, you'll get to see more. I would say that I think that can address your confusions and queries most likely.
Here you will explain all the master data, right?
Hmm.
Master data. You will explain all the master data.
Yes. Don't worry.
And
We'll
one more
talk
thing,
about
like I
that.
just want to know standalone versus embedded system. What's the difference?
There is no actual difference if I would tell you. 99% both of the systems are same. As I said, the only difference is of a platform. Your again that will come up in the later segment of sessions. Just to let you know, just for now, in your S4 you have your Fury platforms. In your standalones you have an NWBC platform. So once we'll go in the next session, we'll talk about these platforms also. So that will give you a brief understanding also.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, then That's good. Let's probably close the session and let's catch up in the next week. And would say let's meet up.
Yes.
Have a good day, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.